Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is SHAMSUL. I am from AM2284I. Today I'm going to talk about realism theories. The study of international relations is crucial as it helps us to make sense of recent events like the Ukraine and Russia conflict. The conflict exemplifies the complexity of international relations, where the understanding of various theories is necessary to analyze how different states, their interests and global power dynamic intersect to create such crises. Realism, originating in the mid-20th century primarily in the United States, emerged as a reaction to a failure of idealistic approach after World War and Cold War. It centered on the idea that nations state are primary actors in the international relations, driven by self-interest to pursue power and security. This theory developed as a response to the need for a more practical and cautious approach in understanding international politics. In this presentation, we will explore the historical context and evolution of realism theories. Looking at how it developed over time, we will delve into its core principles, which include the emphasis on the state sovereignty and self-interest. Additionally, we will discuss how realism theory is applied into contemporary international relations, and we will also touch upon contrasting of viewpoint to provide the comprehensive perspective on this theory. So, I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
And now, I will talk about the main point of the realism. Realism have a four principles, and the first one is the state survival. Keynes and Walsh once said that the goal of maintaining a position of state power is a paramount to all other consideration as long as the nation of self have persists. This principle, which is state survival, explains that every state in the international relation have their own responsible and duty for the sake of their state survival. It brings a meaning that any state must do what is necessary to survive in terms of economy, relation, military power and more. Some of the necessary things that the state must do to ensure their survival is making an alliance with the other state to protect them from any other state that can bring a threat to them. With this, they can maintaining the state sovereignty and peace. Other than that, the state can manage their economic effectively in order to provide the people need and prevent from any economic vulnerability from happen. The state also can make a diplomacy with the other state that can allow both of these parties to settle any dispute between them peacefully through the negotiation. The second principle that I want to explain is anarchy. Anarchy word came from the Greek word anarchos, that means no authority. The concept of anarchy in international relations bring a meaning that there is an absence of authority and also the central government in the state. Where there is no presence of the central government, it will lead to no enforcement for any law, regulation and also the decision for the state, especially the decision on the global scale. In the other word, anarchy is a situation when the government either does not exist or has no authority or control over the people. In international relations, anarchy implies no one is sovereign over the sovereign. Because of no global authority to provide any security, the state must rely on the self-help to make sure they always survive and their interests well protected. What they need to do to achieve that is to build and maintain military capability, form any alliance, and engage in diplomacy to safeguard their sovereignty and security. Another principle of realism is the balance of power. Balance of power is the term been used to describe the distribution of power that happened among the country, state, and group of country. Balance of power being defined by Hans J. Morgenthau as a stability in a system composed of a number of autonomous forces. Balance of power refer to the ability of the country, state, or alliance to maintain a relatively equal distribution of power in order to prevent any other countries, state, or alliance from dominating the international relation. The principle brings a meaning that no state should be too powerful that can dominate in international politics. The balance of power can be maintained through a variety of means such as alliance, diplomacy, and military power. The state may form an alliance with the other state that can balance the power of potential rival. They also can engage in diplomacy so they can prevent the rise of powerful state and can build up the military power that can deter the potential aggressor. For example of balance of power is the Cold War that happened on 1947 until 1999 when the United States and its allies in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or the other name for it is NATO, sought to balance the power and influence the Soviet Union and its ally in the Warsaw Pact, resulting in the intense standoff without direct military conflict. The reason why the state act in that way is because of the human nature that make it that way. Human nature become one of the principles of realism that influence other states to act in a certain way. According to Niccolo Machiavelli, he said that men are ungrateful, fickle, deceitful, cowardly, and avaricious. It means that he defined the human as evil, bad, selfish, egoistic, and depraved. Without any particular limit, the human become greedy that make them to seek a power to do anything that they want in this world. Because of the greediness, the human use state and the government to fulfill their own selfishness, reason, and profit. And they immediately start disliking or hate the thing that they cannot achieve, or is difficult to achieve, or is out of their reach, and will deliberately tend to avoid or delay it. Because Machiavelli once said that the human by nature are aggressive, but they aim to keep what they had to acquire more. For the example that I can say is the Adolf Hitler, the dictator of Germany, that greedy, dangerous, and heartless for sake of power. Later, because of their greediness, the World War II happened. During that time, the million of casualties also happened during World War II.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is AMIRA binti Muhammad Shafie. My matric number is 20233880009 and I'll be introducing about the part where is analysis theories on realism in international theory. So there is 4 main points. I will explain only 2, which are anarchy and state-centric. So first of all, in realism theories, realists contend that the international system is anarchic, which means that there is no central authority or world government to enforce the rules, maintain order, or regulate the behavior of the states. Also, in anarchic system, international system, state exists in a state of nature where there is no high authority to govern their interactions. Or in other words, anarchy means only there is no supreme authority, there is no sets of hierarchy among the states. Also, in realism, the idea of anarchy emphasizes the notions that states live in a self-help society where they must look out for themselves, put their own interests first, and rely on their own resources for the security. The realist theory of international politics, which there's state-centric power-driven behavior and offer a framework for comprehending the dynamics of rivalry, conflicts, and global politics are based on the anarchic visions of the international system. So, for example, of the real cases of the anarchy, during the Cold War and the US-Soviet rivalry, the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet is a classic example of how anarchy and realist theory play out in international relations. So during that Cold War, the absence of the central authority and the competition between these two superpowers is an anarchic system that led to a tense and often confrontational relationship. So these both superpowers engaged in a nuclear arm race and sought to maximize their power and influence around the world in a self-help manner. So this kind of example have demonstrated that how the absence of a central authority in the international system has emphasized by the realist theory that can influence the behavior of the states that led to the competitions and affect international relations, so that the state act in their self-interest to maximize the power and security, often in contexts where they cannot fully trust other states due to the anarchic nature of the system. So that's all for anarchy. We move on to the state-centric. So the next analysis theory is state-centrism. So state-centrism is one of the fundamental analysis theories of realism. In realist theory, the nation-state is considered as the primary actor in the international system. Realists argue that the states are the key players in international politics and their actions are driven by self-interest that pursuit of power and focus on their own national security and survival. So realism emphasizes the roles of nation-states in shaping international events, and it assumes that states are rational actors that prioritize their own interests above all else. So, for example, in the real case here is one of the famous ongoing trade tensions and disputes between the US and China trade war. This dispute can be this trade tension and dispute between US and China can be viewed as through the lens of the state-centrism. These both countries are pursuing their national economic interests and engaging in economic competition and negotiation to advance their agenda, reflecting the significance of nation-states in shaping trade relations and global economic dynamics. So the US-China trade war underscored that the importance of economic power and trade relations in international politics, and demonstrate that the roles of nation states in pursuing their economic interests within the international systems, aligning with the realist perspective on state-centric international relations. So these kinds of importance of nation-state is shown by these kind of examples, and also highlight the how realism theory views nation as logical cohesive entities that pursue their own security and interests while frequently taking the lead in global affairs and conflicts. Also, state-centrism also emphasizes on how important the state's authority and sovereignty are in determining the nature of international politics. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad HAIQAL bin YAMIR 2023-190055. Today I want to explain about analysis theory. The main point is balance of the power. Right. Balance of power is a secular mechanism for promoting stability and peace in the national system. And the balance of power also a fundamental concept in international relations and political science. It's referred to the distribution of power among a different state or actor in the international system to prevent any one entity from becoming too dominant and potentially aggressive. As example, the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union (USSR) during the mid-20th century is a prominent real case, for example, of the balance of power in action. The United States and the USSR were the two superpowers of the post-World War II era, and their rivalry defined much of a global politics during this period. The balance of power between these two superpowers played a secular role in preventing an all-out war between them. So for me, thank you. Second point of analysis theory is the presumptions about cooperation often stem from concern about self-interest and the potential for free riding, where individual of group prioritize their own interests over collective well-being, leading to suboptimal outcome from society. In 2017, the United States, under the administration of President Donald Trump, announced its intention to withdraw from the Paris Agreement on the climate change. The Paris Agreement is a global initiative aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions to combat climate change. Under the agreement, each participating country set its own target for emission reductions, and there is an expectation of financial and technological cooperation to help developing the nation transition to cleaner energy source. That's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is NURUL magic number 2022788. My part is the implication of realism. Firstly, the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962 is a classic example of realist principles influencing state behavior and global power dynamics. During the crisis, the United States and the Soviet Union were at odds over the deployment of nuclear missiles in Cuba. Moreover, the realist thinking that underpins the behavior of both superpowers is like the balance of power and national interest. Firstly, the balance of power. According to realism, states seek to maintain or achieve power equilibrium. The US and the Soviet Union were engaged in a strategic competition with both states and attempting to maximize their influence and military capabilities to avoid being dominated by the others. The crisis was resolved when the US and the USSR reached an agreement demonstrating how realist calculations influence their decision making. The second one was national interest. According to realism, state act in their best interest. In this case, the present Soviet missiles in Cuba was viewed as a direct cheat, prompting a strong response to the Soviet Union. On the other hand, sought to strengthen its global position by stationing missiles near the US mainland, reinforcing the nation that states act in their own self-interest in international affairs. Relation between the United States, China and Russia. Realism informed major powers' foreign policy approach in dealings with other great powers such as the United States. In its relations with China and Russia, the United States has taken a realistic stance. The first one, great power competitions. According to realist theory, great power competition is an important feature of international relations. The United States has taken a more aggressive stance toward China, viewing it as a rising power with the potential to challenge its global dominance. Trade tensions, military posturing, and efforts to counter China's influence in the Indo-Pacific regions have all contributed to this. The second one is strategic alliances. The importance of forming alliances and partnerships to improve one's securities is emphasized by realism. The United States has strengthened its alliances with Asia-Pacific countries to counterbalance China's influence, as well as the NATO members to deter Russia's aggressions. These alliances are based on realist principles of increasing one's own power and security.
My name is AQILAH binti USAINI and I will explain the next of impact towards international theory, which is North Korea pursuit of nuclear weapons is a case that demonstrates how realist thinking impacts states' strategic decision, which is regime survival. Realism suggests that states prioritize their survival above all else. North Korea's pursuit of nuclear weapons is driven by a perceived need for deterrence against potential external threats, particularly from the United States and its allies. Possessing nuclear weapons serves as a means to ensure the regime's survival, as it provides a credible deterrent against military intervention. Next, under the North Korea also, which is security and sovereignty, which is realism highlight the importance of sovereignty and security for states. North Korea, by developing nuclear capabilities, seek to assert its sovereignty and protect itself from external interference. And the regime's pursuit of nuclear weapons is a realist response to the anarchic nature of the international system.
Thank you, AUNI, for explaining your part. And the last one is conclusion. In addition to its enduring relevance, it is essential to acknowledge that realism has contributed significantly to the field of international relations by providing valuable insight into power dynamics, the role of nation-state, and the pursuit of international interests. This perspective has been influential in shaping foreign policy strategies and guiding diplomatic negotiations throughout history. Moreover, the adaptability of realist principles allow them to apply to various contemporary challenges, such as the analysis of great power competition, the impact of non-state actors, and the dynamics of international conflict. As we continue to navigate the complexities of our interconnected world, realism remains a crucial lens through which we can gain a deeper understanding of international relations and ultimately work toward more effective and pragmatic global governance. So that's all from our group. Thank you for listening.